Good afternoon. Welcome to another rare live stream. So obviously with the complications going on in the world, it's clearly a lot to talk about, and I've kind of been observing. I mean, I've been participating too, chiming in every now and again, but also working diligently to try and inform myself on, I don't want to call it a conflict, because I think when you call it a conflict, you minimize it. There's a war that is happening in the Middle East, and if you've been around for a number of years, if you're a certain age, you can recall other conflicts, other terrorist attacks relating to this age-old, I'm going to call it, disagreement between different religious sects that exist in the Middle East. And sometimes those conflicts come to the United States, as we saw on September 11, 2001. So it's incredibly difficult to have a discussion about this as an American, as an African American in particular. Like, I'm not a normal American. My history, contrary to what a lot of people think and believe, is very different than everybody else's history. The reason why people think our history is in America, oh, you're an American, everybody's history is the same. That's not true, because most of America does not know about the very specific history of African Americans. I am someone who is descended from slavery. So my family's lineage and trajectory in this country is not the same. In fact, a lot of it is anti-American, because the reason why I am here, the reason why my family is here, is for reasons other than our best interest. And I'm not trying to go down that road, but you know what I'm talking about. But because the United States unequivocally stands with Israel, then the people in the United States have every right to comment on what our nation is doing in our name. And there needs to be the ability to have discussion about how people feel about war. Wars that we are in either by proxy or wars that we send our American troops into. Because y'all had plenty to say during Iraq and Afghanistan. A lot to say about that war. So we should be able to speak our truths about what is happening in the Middle East. And I say that because every time Joe Biden gets in front of a microphone, Joe Biden has been in front of a microphone more times in the last 96 hours than I've seen him in the last 96 days, it seems like. And he says every time he gets in front of a microphone on a podium and the cameras are running, that the United States stands unequivocally with Israel. We stand with Israel. And sometimes he'll say it 2 times in a row. Okay, fair enough. But then shouldn't the people in the United States be able to give their commentary on what is going on? And here's where you got to be extremely careful. And I'm very careful. In fact, of all the places I could be broadcasting this right now, I'm only broadcasting this in a couple of places because someone can hear my commentary, which is honest, it's frank, and I'm speaking as an American whose president is Joe Biden, who says that America stands with Israel. And so there are things that are being done in America's name, not necessarily by American soldiers, but in our name. I've been following closely. I've been reading a bunch. I've been watching all sorts of historically accurate documentaries on the situation. And the history is long and deep. It's thousands of years old, depending upon how far back you want to go. A lot of this conflict actually predates the Bible. So it's not new. And whatever America's involvement is, we're not going to solve it. In fact, when has America ever really solved an international, for that matter, a domestic crisis? We're not good at solving problems. We're good at making money off a tragedy. I am conflicted because I want to be able to talk about it. But if you are even objective, somebody calls you anti-Semitic, that's it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can't talk about because if somebody somewhere gets offended or doesn't like what you say, the actions they can take can be quite extreme. You know, even if you say things about the LGBTQ community, you say the wrong thing. If the wrong person takes it the wrong way, you're done, which is interesting because you can say pretty much anything about black people. Pretty much anything you want to say about black folks. Nah, it depends. If you use the N-word, and I guess, and you're not black, we get kind of mad at that. But for the most part, there's not the rigid structure that exists when you talk about African Americans, because people say we're lazy, we're stupid, we're criminals, we're thugs, and they don't get canceled for saying that. They might get a social media reprimanding by Black Twitter, but for the most part, not a lot happens. And so we as African Americans have a free spirit in how we discuss issues, including how we discuss ourselves. Yet when it comes to this conflict that America is involved in because we stand with Israel, we got to be real careful. I'm conflicted, as I said a minute ago, because I got Palestinian friends, Arab friends. I think that kind of confuses people. Palestinians are Arabs. I got Arab friends that I consider brothers. Their family is my family. I'll do anything for them. I also have Jewish friends that have been right by my side every step of the way, that have helped me in business, that have helped me make money, that have like mentored me. And so it's tough because this is not about picking a side. It's about being mindful of what the United States government is doing and how they are participating in our name as American citizens. All Palestinians are not terrorists. All Palestinians are not Hamas. They are a group of extremists. We have extremists here too. Name them. Name some of the hate groups. Name some of the terror groups in the United States. We've had the biggest domestic terrorist organization the planet's ever seen, known as the KKK. Imagine a country somewhere else wanting to bomb the United States because of the KKK. Because of the things that the KKK does to people or used to do to people. Or the Proud Boys, a terrorist organization. Or the Boogaloo Boys, are they still around? That's a terrorist organization, these far right-wing groups that are extreme. Well, Hamas is that. Let me tell you what I don't like. I don't like that the Zionist government, the Israelis gave the people in Gaza like 24 hours to leave. I want you to appreciate something. 1.1 million people. They got 24 hours to leave. Because if you look really hard and if you listen very closely, Israeli military forces and those that support Israel want Gaza flattened. They want to destroy it. They want an Arab settlement, which they live on reservations. They can't move freely, the people in Gaza. They're stuck. They have nowhere to go. 40% of them are unemployed. Poverty rate is better than 60%. They have nowhere to go. They can't leave. But Israel's giving them 24 hours to leave. They have nowhere to go. They're going to kill a lot of people. And I need you to understand something. All of those people are not bad. A comparison would be if you had some Black Lives Matter protesters here that caused a lot of damage and a lot of destruction, and the United States saying, well, we're going to kill all black people. The United States would say, hey, black people, you got 24 hours to leave America because we're going to flatten your central city, inner city neighborhoods because of what some Black Lives Matters protesters or rioters did. That's the same thing. And black Americans, where would we go? If somebody warned black Americans because of something that a section of African Americans did, then the country went to war with black people and said, hey, okay, innocent black people that had nothing to do with what Black Lives Matter did in that town, You got 24 hours to leave. You have 24 hours to leave America. We have nowhere to go. They're going to kill a lot of people. And, half of the people that live in Gaza are children. You know that? Half of them. It's the most densely populated part of the world. Like, in the world, it's the most densely populated area. It's like 2 million something people that live in 140 square miles. So a point of reference is the city of Milwaukee is 96 square miles. So Gaza is like Milwaukee and a half. That's the size of it, with like 4 times the people of Milwaukee. It's very densely populated. So when Israelis send missiles into Gaza, there are always going to be civilian casualties. The media uses the term civilian. They mean children. They mean innocent people. A couple of things that Joe Biden said, and I pay very close attention to how he speaks because he's speaking in code. Now, he'll say that we stand with Israel, and then he'll repeat himself. He'll say it twice. But then he says democracies like ours and that of Israel are strongest when we follow rules or we follow the law. And Biden said in a speech a couple of days ago, there are even laws in war. He's warning Israel to stop committing war crimes because they are intentionally targeting apartment buildings and residential areas where those are not. Like, do y'all know that Hamas and Palestinians are not the same thing? Do you know that? You can't just kill everybody because you don't like them and you don't think that they have a right to be where they are. And so, if anything, that is my commentary. We as Americans should be able to talk freely without being deemed anti-Semitic. If I'm not mistaken, isn't Arabic a Semitic language? So being anti-Arab and being anti-Jew, all of it is anti-Semitism? If you look it up, I don't want to look it up. You guys look it up. I don't want to look it up. But I think it's all, there's Semite languages. There's Semite cultures. We're going to kill a lot of people. And obviously, even if they were able to evacuate all the people in the Gaza Strip, they can't come to America because we hate refugees for some reason in this country. So that's not an option for those people. But it's a deep concern because, so who said that? I can't see your name, unfortunately. Somebody said, I hate when I see uneducated people say they stand with Israel. I think some people are doing it or saying that because they think they're supposed to. A lot of people are doing it out of fear. I'm not going to tell you who. I brought it up on my radio show today. That local elected officials are posting on their social media that they stand with Israel. You don't have to, it's not necessary to say that, because when you say that, you're making it known publicly and to the world that you are obviously okay with the war crimes that I know are going to be committed. And I say that because Joe Biden warned Benjamin Netanyahu, who's under investigation for corruption. So Benjamin Netanyahu is Israel's Trump. So when you say that you're standing with Israel, you're going to be standing for all the things that they do, including the war crimes. And they say civilians are going to get killed. They're being killed. Children. I can't. Let me tell you why I can't. Because the United States commits atrocities itself. And I'm always skeptical of who the United States government supports, because I got a whole bunch of evidence where the United States government doesn't always respect and support the people in the United States. We don't all think the same. We don't all think, the same about this situation. We don't all have the same perspectives, and we should be able to talk about our perspectives, because this is what a damn democracy is. I don't like all this woke stuff and all this political correct stuff, because it means if you have something to say and somebody doesn't like it, or if they don't agree, or if you don't think like them, they can cancel you. That's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. People cannot have honest and frank discussions because if somebody's feelings get hurt, you can't talk about it because somebody might be offended. So it's problematic, but it's unnecessary to pick a side. there are oppressed people who didn't ask to be in their situation. If y'all really knew, so the people in Gaza, they have no electricity. Their fuel has run out. Their water supply is done because Israel controls everything that goes into and comes out of Gaza, including people. They're not even allowing for, I think they call it a humanitarian bridge, where the innocent people have a safe passage to go somewhere else. Like it could be to Egypt, or it could be the Sinai Peninsula, where that you give people time to collect their gatherings, get their children together, and you can't bomb the passage, because then that, of course, would be a war crime as well. They're not even giving these people a safe passage out. And so I just want y'all to be aware. And I don't want you to think that the United States is going to be gaining any friends. It's a lot of folks that hate us in the world. You know that? Like a billion people hate Americans because we do stuff like this. And it's almost like our support is unequivocal. And I don't like that, because if the United States is going to be committing war crimes in the name of the people of the United States, we got an issue with that, because you know what? That makes all of you guilty too, even though we ain't got nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with this. We have nothing to do with it. You're right, it is stolen land. You're correct. And the way that Israel was created, and look, and I get it, like the Jews have had it really rough, right? People have been trying to kill them and exterminate them for like 1,000 years. Like everywhere they went, they've dealt with genocide. And so it was decided in 1948 that they were going to have land. They were going to have a settlement where they can feel safe. I get it. But there was already people there. And then the people that were there have to live on reservations. And the people that were there lost their rights. This is an apartheid system. We didn't like apartheid. In South Africa, do y'all remember that? You got to be better than 40 years old to know what apartheid was, to remember when it was choking off the South African majority. We didn't like that system. This is exactly what is happening right now. And both sides they've been killing each other. They've been committing atrocities. You can look up the number of children that have been killed, the number of innocent people that have been killed by both sides. It's dreadful. It is. But the United States has no choice, right? In the name of the American people, whenever you hear the United States stands with Israel, that's all of us. Didn't nobody ask us, They didn't take a poll. I don't remember getting a phone call saying, "Hey, Sherwin, what should we do about this situation?" It is a holy war, and the United States of America is probably one of the most unholy places. The most religious thing about this country, because people, they fake with religion here. I think they believe they can be righteous or self-righteous. They believe that they can do no wrong. They believe that they can throw stones at other people. But if you're saved and if you believe in God, then no harm will come to you. Like the way people interpret religion, or at least Christianity, it's so nonsensical that it's almost meaningless. Because a Christian will justify anything. And we've seen them justify anything. And what's crazy about the Bible is like, I never read it. Like I know Stone Cold used to have John 3:16 on his t-shirt, so I think I probably looked that one up, but I never really read the Bible. The Bible has a passage for everything you can do, even probably kill people. It's everything that you could ever want to do is in the Bible. Someone says black people should be taking notes. I'm just saying dehumanization is real. What the Palestinians are experiencing is the extent of such atrocity in the name of God. GTOF. Oh, I can say get the fuck out of here. I'm not censored right now. They're an oppressed people, but the Jewish people are oppressed too. Here's another thing. Zionism is the political structure that believes that Israel should have a country. Zionism and those that follow Zion. So Zionism is like, it's political. So a Zionist that believes in Israel's right to exist no matter what, meaning if Israel has to kill people and take people's property. Oh, by the way, if you are Jewish and you live anywhere on the planet, I'm being factual here. So I'm not using hyperbole and I'm trying to be as objective as possible. If you are Jewish, you can go to Israel and get citizenship. Now there's a process. But as a Jew, you are entitled to be a citizen of Israel. You're entitled. If you are Palestinian or if the lineage of your people hail from what is historical Palestine, you can't come back. I need you to think about that. If your family has lived in Palestine for millennia before the Bible, and you have been expelled to make room, to make way for the Jewish state, which was created by England. I don't know if y'all know about some of the atrocities created by the United Kingdom, England especially, and the Church of England. I don't know if y'all know about this thing called the slave trade. I speak English as evidence of what the English have done. Have you guys ever heard of the third world? Third world countries? England created the third world. When you think of third world countries, like, oh, these are just a bunch of poor people. Why do you think they're poor? They have been so colonized and all of their resources have been taken. They have nothing. They cannot build any wealth because a lot of the land and the resources that make those third world countries, quite honestly, wealthier than England, they don't have access to their own resources. And what they do is they make these third world countries, think the Caribbean, the Bahamas, like really super poor, dirt poor countries, a lot of Africa. And so for those countries to have an economy, they have to borrow money from the World Bank so they can build roads and bridges and buildings and houses. They got to borrow money because they don't have access to their own wealth. And when they borrow money from the World Bank, they have to pay interest on the debt. And some of these third world countries have a lot of travel and tourism because it's really ironic. A lot of beautiful third world countries have a lot of tourism. Jamaica, perfect example. And China's buying all of Jamaica if they haven't already. So in order for Jamaica to have an infrastructure, to have a government, they got to borrow money from the World Bank. Well, the World Bank charges these third world countries an amount of interest to where they'll never pay the principal down. They're always going to be poor. And we blame the countries like, oh, maybe they all should get a job or get an education. No, really, more attractive for people in third world countries is to immigrate to first world countries because first world countries don't become third world countries. But first world countries created third world countries because we stole everything. So the whole concept is it's a lot because it's very different than American politics and American history. However, Palestinians would be like Native Americans. But at least we gave the Native Americans citizenship. We stole everything from them. We killed millions of them. We're like, here, have this land and this land is sovereign. If you have an example of a two-state system, the United States and what we did to Native Americans might be an example of it, but it's a real poor example. Two-state systems, two-state solutions don't work. We tried it in America, and what was it called here? Separate but equal. If it's separate, it's never equal. If you separate people, you always can determine who gets more money, who gets more access, who gets more opportunity, who gets more wealth. There is no such thing. Human beings cannot live separated from resources. We can't. We've tried so many times. It just doesn't work. I don't side with terrorists, but there's terror coming from both sides. The United States is unequivocally standing with Israel. And Israel, that means that Israel can commit war crimes. Because if you do something in the name of the United States, I mean, who's gonna challenge us? Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, then I'm gonna get the hell out of here because it's technically my weekend. There is instability all over the world. Russia is invading Ukraine. We, of course, are funding Ukraine because this is very similar to what happened about 80 years ago. Germany started taking property in Eastern Europe, Poland and Western Europe, and then in Austria, and then they moved into France. And then that started World War II. Well, Russia's trying to do the same thing. So by the United States supporting a sovereign nation that we want to join NATO, Ukraine, we are stopping Vladimir Putin from doing what Adolf Hitler did about 80 years ago. We cannot have Vladimir Putin confiscating property because Russia does not produce very much. When we had the Soviet Union got wealth and resources from all of the other countries it controlled in the Eastern Bloc. Now some of those countries are democratic. They're not a part of the Soviet Union anymore, and Russia has been suffering ever since. They want the Soviet Union back so that Vladimir Putin can have access to all of the resources and all of the people and all of the labor in countries in Europe so that Russia can become wealthy. We have to stop that. I know a lot of people, oh, you shouldn't be sending money to Ukraine. It's probably a better investment that we try to stop Vladimir Putin from taking Ukraine, because if he gets Ukraine, he's not going to stop. I know that doesn't really concern us, but eventually it could, because I'm too old to get drafted. So the other big instability that we have is that the Republicans cannot pick a Speaker of the House. They have found themselves in the political and numeric majority in the House of Representatives, but they cannot pick a single person to lead them, meaning the United States is essentially, we are neutered as far as political decisions go. China wants to invade Taiwan. That's political instability. China's a growing threat. North Korea is a threat. And the United States government is incomplete because the Republicans who have control of the House can't even pick a goddamn speaker. We in the United States are very vulnerable because one of our parties that I don't agree with has the majority in the House. That's where the policy gets made. That's where legislation gets created. That's where budgets gets created. Joe Biden can't spend any money that Congress doesn't allocate. And right now, the majority party can't pick a speaker. So there's nothing happening in Congress. That makes us vulnerable. And we are siding with a nation that is at war. Eventually, we're going to have to start sending Israel money and resources and probably troops. Now, what Joe Biden can do and what he is doing is he can allocate surplus military equipment to Israel, but that's going to run out. And eventually we're going to have to appropriate money. Remember, the government shuts down when we have to appropriate money just to keep the federal government open. That's when the government shutdown is. And so we have that to contend with as well. So it's just a lot of just shit. Jim Jordan was picked by the GOP. Did they vote on it? Because I just was watching something. MSNBC, NBC, something. Here, let me take off this. I'm so extra when I do when I do the background, because I can do a bunch of stuff. I got a whole studio in my house because I didn't think I was going to be going to 101.7 The Truth, because when I built this studio, I was just going to be broadcasting from home. So I got all this stuff. Y'all be real impressed if you knew what I had in here. I got some things. Now, I got a light. Look, that's the light off. Turn the light on. I got a green screen. Look, you want to see it? Hold on. Wait, I think I can show it to you. Hang on. Can I show you, Mary? You can't really tell. Let me see. Hang on. I like using this stuff. Wait a minute. Everybody relax. Everybody calm down. There's a lot going on right now. Hang on. It's going to look so stupid. Hang on. Look. Look. But when I do the little effects and stuff on here, then it looks like a black background. I can put other things behind me. Well, we need to enjoy life, and if the world ends it, the world ain't ending. But it's going to be real inconvenient, I think, for a little while. Hold on, let me put my green screen back. I look dumb. Hang on a second. Let me fix that. Go like that right there. All right. All right, guys. So because I didn't connect my, I can see what you guys are texting, but I can't see the names. All right. So just stay vigilant, everybody, and try to research stuff and read about stuff, because the United States is involved in a holy war that's biblical, and we are the wrong people to be involved. And Joe Biden says the United States stands with Israel. And I just want to make it known that Sherwin Hughes, as an individual human being, does not stand for war crimes that are being committed. No children need to die because of where they were born. If you were born in Gaza, you're born dead. We had a big discussion about this today at work after I got off the air with some of my coworkers. Because we all work in media, but we do different things in media. Everybody needs to be up to speed on this. And I took a lot of risk talking about this on air, but I can't ignore it. None of us should be able to ignore what's going on. It's horrible things that are happening. And I also see how faulty the American media is. They've been lying to us. They've been lying so much. It's all one-sided. You got to search for information on what is happening to the Palestinian people. Because what we are presenting, when people turn the TV on, you don't hear what's happening to the Palestinian people. And please don't look at the video. Oh, it's heartbreaking. I'm watching these fathers carrying their limp-bodied dead babies out of the rubble, screaming in Arabic. Children are going to be orphaned. One more thing on that, then I'm out of here. You want to radicalize a child so that they become the next generation of fighters on both sides. Kill their parents. A 14-year-old boy, Palestinian boy, a 14-year-old boy from Gaza who loses his brothers, his sister, his mother, and his father is going to hate Jews for the rest of his life and will seek to avenge the death of his family for the rest of his life. So the more people that die, the longer we are guaranteeing that this conflict takes place. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I'm gonna play some music. Like I got a real outro. Hang on a second. Oh, I want to play that. That was dirty. Hold on. There we go. I'll reply to some of these comments in the Hughes Views Facebook group. And tell people to join the group. Like, share it or something. All right, guys, I'm going to go now. See you later.